pinakaulit balita sa mga ng massacre. Mr. Undersecretary.
Hello. Hello, yan. Magsaysa ka na, medyo
Sige lang.
sabit yung boses ko. Well, ang latest development doon, yung meeting nila ng families with President Duterte last November 23, no? As we commemorated the 8th anniversary of the Maguindanao Massacre. So, spokesman Harry Roque and I made sure na makaharap nila si Presidente, and it was a very candid, cordial, and very passionate meeting, no? So they got to the President himself got to share his sentiments, his concerns, his views, his thoughts on the Maguindanao massacre incident, massacre case. Paul Gutierrez, maya ka na.
Okay.
If you recall, it was President Duterte who helped provide the helicopter that found the massacre site.
Okay.
Siya yun. And siya yung nilapitan ni Gov. Toto Maudadato that time, and he helped secure the helicopter that found the site. No? So, ang latest dito, he gave an assurance to the families that kung siya lang, gusto niya in a year's time tapos eh. So, kasi andun si Sec Vita Aguirre, andun si Spokes Harry, andun ako. Ang latest natin kasi dyan, tapos na yung 190 witnesses presentation. Terminated na yun, yung prosecution witnesses. 190 after 8 years. And right now, the defense, they are presenting their witnesses. So, they presented 63 witnesses already.
Okay.
So, out of the 188 accused, 82 are still at large, and we have directed the PNP and NBI to intensify their manhunt, no, against those 82. I think may nahuling isa nitong Wednesday. I'm still verifying. Tapos, 104 are detained, 2 are out on bail. May mga namatay na. From 197, naging 188 because may namatay, mayroong nag-state witness. Alright, the most important development here is that ito yung sasabi kong we can now see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
22 have terminated the presentation of evidence. Meaning, yung 22 na to, tapos na. And 13 of them filed for a memorandum for final decision. Gusto nila yung korte, decision na na yung kaso namin. 13 yon out of 22. But this week, as we speak, today is Monday.
27.
I think ngayon, ifa-file yung memorandum ng prosecution panel for Ahmad Ampatuan Sr. and Anwar Ampatuan Sr. For final decision also. So we're looking at 15 accused. Siguro in a few months' time, they will be there will be partial judgment already.
Okay.
And that's what we want. And that's what the President wants.
All right.
So he assured no, sabi nga niya, sabi ni President Duterte, makonvict lang natin, dalawang principal na yan eh.
Masaya na.
Masaya, kasi all the rest will follow.
Okay.
But we need to see that. Sabi niya, Vit, make sure that you do that. 2 to 3 ang patuans. Oh, sabi niya, yun po, sabi niya sa mga pamilya. Yun din ang stand natin. And yung partial judgment actually, nangyayari na eh.
Okay.
And we have 21 accused also who are presenting their evidence, including Unsay.
Okay.
21. So, 22 plus 21, we have 43 na. No?
Okay.
22 of them tapos na. Now, ano ang nakikita natin dito? Ang conservative projection natin, most conservative projection, is that if the prosecution presented 190 witnesses, let us assume that the defense also will present an equal number of witnesses. Okay? And they have already presented 63. So, we're looking at mga 130 more, mga ganyan. So, kung 130 pa ang pe-present nila,
8 years yan.
hindi, 4 years lang tapos to. Kung 130 o 150.
Okay.
But, sabi ko nga, tinanong natin yung DOJ, and Prof. Arao was there. So, during the meeting, tinanong ko, so, paano kung 63 lang o 100, eh di mas mabilis. So, well within the administration of President Duterte, I'm sure. And I'm going to resign if not.
Oh?
Oh, yeah! Pagod na rin ako eh. Hindi, I'll bet my position on it with, kung tatagal pa ako ng 4 years sa service, hindi ako magsawa. But I can see clearly the light at the end of the tunnel. Malapit na kasi. I hope by next year meron talaga.
Okay.
And that's also part of the respondents' right to speedy trial.
Of course.
Ginaganon nila eh. So, desisyonan nyo na kami so we can go upstairs.
Alright.
Pero yung ginagawa nila. So, I'm sure by next year, hopefully, I don't want to jump the gun on, kasi I heard that the defense has moved to cite me for contempt. It's okay.
Okay. Sige,
Problema.
babantayan natin. Pero, merong isang ginugunita ngayon, ito yung tungkol sa impunity. Ano ba yung sitwasyon, Professor Dan Arao?
Yung November kasi ang tawag dito parang impunity month kasi nung November 2 a few years ago merong dalawang periodistang dinukot at pinatay. French journalist sila dun sa bansang Mali. At yun, noong una desaparecido sila pero patay na pala. At yun yung dineclare ng UN, parang ang November 2 every year will become the UN International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. So yun yung specific dun sa mga periodista. Pero yung tinatawag nating International Day to End Impunity, ito yung ginugunita tuwing November 23. At obviously, alam natin kung bakit November 23 yung pinili kasi may kinalaman to dun sa tinatawag nating Ampatuan Massacre. So it could be just a matter of semantics, pero siguro apila lang sa media kung pwede, iwasan natin sanang tawagin itong Maguindanao Massacre sapagkat ito ay nagre-refer sa buong probinsya ng Mindanao.
Right, tama.
At nangyari lang po ito sa isang town na nagkataon lang na ipinangalan dun sa mga principal suspect. There is such a thing as Ampatuan Town, or to be specific, yung Sitio Masalay, Barangay Salman.
So, how do we call it?
Ampatuan Massacre.
Ampatuan Massacre.
Kasi hindi naman ito patungkol sa mga ampatuan mismo, kundi yung mismong
lugar.
lugar.
Yung lugar.
Opo, na nangyari yung krimen. Yung Barangay Salman kasi, pwede rin namang tawaging Salman Massacre. Kaya lang ang problema kasi kung alam niyo yung timeline ng massacre, iba't ibang lugar yung pagpatay, di ba? Mula dun sa checkpoint hanggang dun sa grave site na nandun yung mga backhoe. Anyway, at any rate, this could be just a matter of semantics. Pero kung babalikan natin yung tanong mo, Melo, itong impunity month talaga, ito yung pagkakataon for reflection on the issue of impunity, not just against journalists, but other sectors of society. Kasi yun din yung dapat nating isa-isip na bagamat yung pagpatay sa mga periodista at yung Ampatuan Massacre, to be specific, ay malalim na issue at di natin dapat kalimutan. Siguro dapat wag din natin kalimutan yung pagpatay sa mga aktivista, sa mga abogado, maging sa mga teacher. May mga pinapatay din at sa mga judge at iba pang mga abogado. Yun lang po.
Okay, simula pa lang yun. Mula sa isang military historian, bakit meron ganitong mga armadong grupo sa mga lugar na karaniwang may kahirapan? Yung bang mga private armed groups ay dahilan sa pagkakaroon ng political dynasties? Ano ba dynamics ito? Mr. Custodio, please. Paabot po ng ito.
Ano ba? Kala ko kakanta mo. So anyway, ititrace kasi natin yan sa dalawang issues. No? The first one is usually the feudal nature of Philippine politics. No?
Feudal nature of
Philippine
Philippine
politics. So usually it reflects that in order to control a certain area, you will have a large number of armed people in your pay. No? So make a long story short, you trace it to feudal politics, no? Which is very prevalent in the Philippines. Actually, just go a few kilometers away from Manila, you will run right into certain provinces na meron mga armed groups, yung mga local government officials and so on and so forth, no? Because it's a carryover of what they have been, what their ancestors had been doing ever since, no? Especially certain places in Cavite, mga ganun tipo, no? Now, so that's what, no? The second reason is also the internal security operations in the country, no? That's why siguro tinawag mo dito dahil security. Para nakakalata na.
Nabasa po rin.
Halata.
Halata.
Oo. Because the security forces, government security forces have always been at the do not have the initiative against rebels and whatever other dissident groups are there. No? Why? Because, for example, reasons of limited manpower and what have you. Now, because of that, they tend to tap into civilian forces, no? Civilian groups. No? We can see that during the Marcos time, we had the although di pa ako pinapanganak nun, was the CHDF, yung Civilian Home Defense Forces. No?
May BSDU pa eh.
Tapanahon man na yun. Tagal, mas matanda. So, pero ngayon, then, the CHDF, yung BSDU, CHDF, morphed into the CAPGO, which we have now. Now, because again of this strange dangerous combination of feudal politics, the need to have militias to have force multiplier, andun na yung that creates the condition, the necessary conducive conditions to wherein politicians or certain groups are able to justify their large armies, private groups, as a way to support the government internal security operations. No? And that makes actually them benefit from government logistical support.
Okay.
And the problem is, in many instances, you're creating a monster. No? And that thing happens.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ibig mong sabihin, kung nawala man yung mga ampatuan, ito yung academic discussion, napaltan lamang ng mangudadato. And the difference between them is the same?
Binanggit mo yung pangalan, ayoko na magsalita.
Hindi. Academic discussion.
Sabihin natin sa planetang Mars.
Sige, sa planetang
ganun yun
Mars.
Nagkaroon ng isang tao doon, nagkaroon ng insidente. But because of the political feudal system, no, you will have repetition of armed groups under civilian control, no,
Okay.
which have functional, which the government will have some sort of functional supervision over, no, through the either the military or the police, no.
Okay.
So usually that is because there is an existing armed group there, a rebel armed group, like for example, if it's in Mindanao, it's the MILF or the BIFF, yung mga ganon, no. So minsan pwede mong sabihin saan ang gagamitan eh. Ganon. Yan.
Okay. Pero hindi niyo rin ba nakita na yung CAFGO nagagamit din ng politiko dahil sa may mga informasyon na pinalilista itong mga taong ito na CAFGO para makapagkaroon lamang ng sandata, pero wala naman sila doon sa mga assigned areas. Kaya pag may sumasalakay na NPA sa isang CAFGO base, lagi na-overrun sapagkat yung mga CAFGO ay bodyguard ng mga politiko.
Yep. Yan nga, yun nangyayari. Kasi nga, sometimes because the CAFGO really has to be under the control of the military talaga, no? But you know, in the great arrangement of things, there's always something that is not properly implemented. Alam naman tayo, nation of laws, but really nobody really bothers to implement many of them, no? Actually, may mga guidelines yan kung paano talagang i-execute yan, no? Who is in charge of that and so on and so forth, no? But the problem is talaga, you really have a pervasive local influence there, local political influence, and they tend to influence kung paano i-deploy yung mga various armed militias na to.
Okay. How would you react to that, coming from the academy?
Actually, valid yung points na sinabi ng ating kasama, yung usapin ng political influence vis-a-vis the paramilitary groups. Pero dapat din natin isa-isip at isama sa ating discussion yung economic influence din. Kasi maraming mga katutubo ang nagsasabi na yung paramilitary groups ay nagagamit particularly ng mining companies para dun sa pag-occupy dun sa ancestral domain. At may kinalaman din ito, Melo, sa sektor ng edukasyon kasi yung mga recognized ng DepEd na eskwelahan na mga lumad tulad ng Alcadeb ay inaatake ng militar. So may kinalaman to dun sa mining operations din sapagkat ilang beses nang nasabi at actually even before the time of Duterte or even the time of Noynoy Aquino, nabanggit na rin yung maraming beses yung intrusion ng mga mining company. Kaya nga nag-declare na rin ng war. As in war talaga, yung maraming indigenous groups particularly the lumads against the mining companies. Tandaan natin na recently nangyari yung Lianga Massacre, kung saan yung mismong head ng Al-Qaeda at yung ilang mga guro at yung ilang mga estudyante ay walang habas na pinatay, allegedly by the paramilitary forces. Matindi rin yung red baiting na nangyayari sa countryside at kahit na taon-taon ginawang tradisyon halimbawa ng Universidad ng Pilipinas na i-welcome yung mga lumad na nanggaling pa sa Mindanao, kahit ang UP ay nagiging source din ng bashing and suspicions by the military as regards what's happening right now. Kaya medyo nakakabahala. I'm sorry if we're digressing a little bit, pero may mga pronouncement din kasi yung kasalukuyang Pangulo na dahil i-declare raw niya na terorista yung CPP, NPA, and DFP, even legitimate mass organizations will be, quote-unquote fair game as regards what's happening. So, I'm not sure if this will be part of our conversation, pero sa usapin ng media halimbawa, particularly the alternative media, there is reason to worry about certain
Meron
developments.
naman connection naman.
Yeah. Would you care to react, Usec, dahil sa nasa Malacanang kayo? Lalabas na ba yung deklarasyon tungkol doon sa mga legal fronts na,
Kuya, hanggang media lang ako.
Wala ka ba naamoy? Wala ka naamoy? Yes.
Meron man ako maamoy, hindi ko inaamoy.
Yes, please.
Sino? Nga pala, ito pala sa'yo. Meron na. Una sa lahat, gusto ko pasalamatan yung Aristocrat. Ang sarap ng tuna sandwich na to. But that being said,
Pagkasilda ako dun ng yung
I think importante rin naman yung ako personally, if you ask me, if you look kasi at the counterinsurgency campaigns, ever since, there has been a development na you don't touch the illegal groups. Why? Because talo na kapag you touch the legal groups, because you really have to have ironclad evidence. Na yung ex-legal group na yan is involved in, or an identity, or an individual is involved in a particular.
Yeah, palit tayo.
Hello?
Yeah, okay.
Pareho lang naman.
Sige.
So it's involved in subversive activities or armed subversive activities, or supporting that or what have you. More often than not, the track record is not in favor of the government. Pag tinignan mo historically, So sometimes when it's a now soundbite, I assume, It's a now soundbite that the media will lock on, But if the government actually implements that, you really have to have a very good legal team, because you're going to run into a lot of problems. Propaganda-wise also, it's an unwinning. It's visually parang medyo no-win situation ka doon. Again, I'm taking it from the historical perspective. If you look at it from the past, there's no karapatan ng government to do what it wants to do in terms of the policies, in terms of insurgency. But again, there are certain things that you really have to understand that may lead to creation of more problems. And you already have your hands full.
Yeah.
Okay. So magandang punto yan. Pero may nangyari sa Marawi, mahigit pa lang 1,400 kawal ang nasugatan. At mayroong kung ilang daang mga nasawi. Anong impact nito kung mag-all out ang gobyerno laban sa NPA at sa legal fronts? Don't you think the Malate type of groups would have a field day in the Visayas and in Mindanao?
Paano pumili siya lang?
Hindi. Pero
No, but seriously.
Sama na yan.
Seriously, okay. We will scenario building tayo dito, okay? The Maoteg, the battle in Marawi managed to knock out the equivalent of 1 brigade in the Philippine military. 1,400 wounded and 165 killed. That's like 3 battalions worth, and 3 battalions is one brigade. Okay. So equivalent medyo temporary knockout of service yan. So if you have a declaration of before I go into that, so ang ginagawa ng military ngayon is to recruit no? Kung mapansin mo sa Facebook mo ngayon, maraming mga announcements sa Facebook na the AFP needs 500 candidate soldiers, mga ganyan. Yun yung mga numbers, may kasama pang pay pa. So kung isa sa inyo, iba sa inyo, medyo wala pang maintenance medicine dyan, at bata-bata pa kayo, you can become a candidate soldier, no? Sa 18,000 to 26,000 ang salary range, no? But yun ang nakikita mo, may mga recruitment. So, and that comes right after Marawi. No? So you can see there's a personnel problem already happening. No? Now if you launch now we all know that Marawi city is cleared, but what about the adjacent areas? Are they cleared also? So meron ka pa rin security problem. That is why Galvez said that Cotabato is a possible target. No? He said that around 2 weeks ago. No? So yun ganon. So meron ka pa rin existing security situation dyan. Now, if you open a new front with the CPP NPA, you have to figure out what resources now are you going to divert to them, no? Kasi gusto mong all out, no? So, hanap ka ng resources, di ba? So, in that situation, ipapasok ko ngayon, doon papasok ulit tayo sa yung creation ng mga possible militia groups, no? Yung reinforced, kasi yung kahit mag-recruit ng military ng 500 ngayon or 1,000 ngayon, next year mo pa magagamit yan no? Kasi te-train mo pa yan no? So, stopgap solutions ka muna. Kuha ka ng militia, no? Raise ka ng mga CAFGO units and so on and so forth. But the problem is, baka spotty ang kanilang discipline. So,
human rights.
So, alam naman natin na insurgency is not, the solution to insurgency is not a military, no? Only. It's a whole of government approach. It's the same thing also with the drug campaign. No? You cannot just keep on killing people. You have to have a total approach also at the same time. No? So those are the things that the government has to consider within yung mga challenges niya ngayon.
Okay. Napakaganda. Yes, Professor.
Yeah.
How do you look at it?
Okay. Well, we can look at it at various angles. Pero halimbawa, kung babalikan natin yung discussion sa media, tingin ko kasi yung crackdown sa legitimate mass organizations might redound also if we want to do what Sir Custodio says, scenario building. Pwedeng mag-redound din yan dun sa critical reportage, particularly when it comes to the insurgency or even statements coming from the government that would be quite controversial. For example, the declaration of what is called a revolutionary government. We don't know what that animal is, but nevertheless, if there are reporters who would be quite critical of such policies or such pronouncements, then baka maakusahan din sila na engaging in terroristic activities. Because we have to recall, in terms of context, in 2007, naipasa po yung Human Security Act. At syempre, as expected, cause-oriented groups were against it for the simple reason that human security was so nebulous a term that anything can be misconstrued as an act of terrorism. Actually, even economic sabotage is being considered as, a terrorist act. So paano kung ang mga obrero o yung mga magsasaka ay magdesisyon na mag-strike? Is it economic sabotage? In Mindanao, we know this very well. The national highway was blocked by militant groups and they were violently dispersed. Kung uulitin ba natin ito under the current regime, would this constitute as a terrorist act dahil yung mode of transportation mo naapektuhan? So these questions would have to be raised time and again so that we can really expose the tyrannical tendencies of the current president. I'm sorry to say.
Ano yun? Ano ibig sabihin ng tyrannical?
Okay, tyrannical in the sense that when we're talking about impunity here, parang kung ano ang gusto niya mangyari.
Sabi kasi ng isang mama rito, tira ng tira.
Yeah, isa rin yun. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. Tira ng tira na lang. Because when we talk about impunity, ibang kahulugan ko ng tira sa kahulugan niya. Biro lang. But nevertheless,
we're not talking of Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez here. We're not talking of that.
Well, yeah, but impunity, okay, seriously speaking, when we talk about impunity here, we talk about the mindset of Duterte that he can practically get away with anything, even to the point of abolishing all institutions and to just simply declare a revolutionary government without even thinking na he's actually declaring revolution against himself. when you think about it. So,
Babantayan natin.
apa.
We're joined by Mr. Jose Marie Callueng. Siya po ang National President ng College Editors Guild of the Philippines. Magandang umaga. Mabuti naman nakarating ka, no?
Hindi pa season. Hindi pa season. Hindi season.
Hindi season.
Hindi po season.
Kamukha,
Yung
kamukha,
nanay niya, season yata.
talaga?
Just kidding. Okay, anong tingin ng CEGP sa nagaganap ngayon? Dahil lang sa may survey yung Publicos Asia, nakaramihan ng millennials are in favor, and in fact, they feel proud having President Duterte as president. Being a millennial that you are, kami centennial.
Millennial ako eh. Millennial ako.
Well, given
Ikaw
po
lang.
ng authority din po talaga, no, yung nag-gain talaga ng clamor yung image ni President Duterte as a strong man din, no? At nakakalungkot actually na may ganito yung nagiging sentimento ng kalakhan ng mga kabataan. Ang dahilan naman, ang stand naman po namin dyan ay talagang patuloy pa rin, no, na expose yung ganitong image ni President Duterte dahil napakalaki na pong repercussion nito. There's a serious repercussion to the mindset of the youth, no? At kami po sa Campus Press, we are already being threatened recently and even being attacked, no? Meron pong yung mga progressive na publications na naglalabas talaga ng mga na-expose talaga yung ganitong image ni President Duterte ay subjected to surveillance, ganyan, at meron pa talaga yung mga ibang binibisita sa kanilang mga publikasyon. At ito po ay manifestation na hindi pa man nagsisimula yung crackdown, no, ay meron na talagang mga ganitong pangyayari.
You know, we're fortunate because the one in charge of the Presidential Task Force on Media Security is with us. Paano? Kasama ba dun sa media security mandate niyo yung mga campus journalists?
Ang definition kasi natin, media workers eh. So, however, they are future media workers. So, inire-ready din natin sila sa reality po, sa reality ng mundo ng media talaga. Kaya, meron tayong partnerships with with various groups, with various media organizations. Now we have a campaign on ethics, etc. So we're preparing the young ones for their becoming of a full-fledged media worker in the future.
Very
But
well.
Yung sinabi niya na yung ang tawag doon,
May mga surveillance?
campus press. Nung college ako, nung circa 90s nangyayari. Ngayon, diba talagang may mga ganun eh. Up to now, may
65 na.
Hindi naman.
Okay.
Reklamo na namin yun ang araw eh.
Ganun. Meron na rin, ha? Sabagay.
And I was also with CEGP that time.
Anyway, may tanong ako, very sensitive ito sapagkat may lumabas na balita that Secretary Andanal, who happens to be PCOO, no? Tumutulong sa media by way of medicines and we also provide housing.
Good.
How true is this?
Yeah, he put me in charge of the housing for media. Sabi niya sa akin during our inauguration, please help me again and put this housing project as part of your media security program.
Hindi kaya magkakagulo
Hindi, kuya, kasi number one, we have to be very careful kasi hindi ito basta pamimigay. May qualifications to. Di ba? Kumbaga, may pag-ibig ka ba? That's why we're asking media owners, bigyan nyo naman dignidad yung mga workers ninyo sa media. Pasweldohin nyo naman tama, bigyan nyo mga benepisyo. Doon nagsisimula eh. So this will be eventually offered to those who are qualified. Kaya yung sinasabi na breakdown ito, no, of course not. People will have to apply for this. Di ba? So, maaaring low cost ito kasi kung government property, marami tayong pag-uusapan pa rito. There may be hidden issues na we have to discuss muna. And yung medicines, yes, that's called the, as Secretary Andanar explained it to us, yung parang Duterte Medical Media Fund. So, I think this is with, in cooperation with Manny Pangilinan. And for various hospitals all over the country. Ngayon, actually, may tinutulungan siya. May nag-text din sa akin from Nueva Ecija. Nagpa-laser sa prostate. And then, sinabit ko kay Secretary Andanar. Lumalapit naman kasi sila. Oo, so pag lumapit, at least meron tayong mai-offer na ano. And we don't announce who they are. So, kumbaga, tulong lang taga to sa ilalim.
Okay. Wala bang problema sa ethics?
Sabi tama.
Anyway. Okay, ethics-wise, okay, basta malinaw yung mechanisms na hindi ito gagamitin for bribery. Of course, there's reason to worry about it. Okay, medyo valid naman yung point na yon. Kasi una, isipin mo, ano ba ang pakialam ng PCOO sa usapin ng pagbibigay ng medicine at housing, samantalang may NHA naman at may iba pang mga ahensya ng gobyerno that would take care of that. So I guess the challenge for Secretary Andanar or even Undersecretary Sy-Egco would be to justify why PCOO is dipping its hands into such things. Isa yon. Pangalawa, siguro dapat ding malinaw kasi I also asked this question during a private conversation with Secretary Andanar. Malinaw naman na hindi ito libre. So from what I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, Undersecretary, this is low-cost housing. So babayaran din naman ito. So hindi ito i-dole out sa mga media. And from what I recall again, the vetting process will be done with another national press organization. Ewan ko kung pwedeng banggitin kung ano yon, pero itong press organization
Sa media partner na lang natin.
yung media partner, basta yung media partner ng PCOO, yun yung yun yung tutulong sa pagsala. You don't need to be a member of this media organization or this media partner,
to qualify.
pero yun yung magba-vouch na ito ay legal at hindi house-show na media. So,
okay.
yun. Pero yun na nga, balikan natin yung ethics. So, there has to be an explanation as to why PCOO is dipping its hands into housing and medicine. Although it's a noble gesture, pero dapat malinaw yung justification po sana.
Okay, mabuti po naliliwanag nyo. Yung fake news coming from a military historian, it's been said that fake news has been with us for a long time. Ano ba?
Ewan ko. No. Seriously, it is the God-given right. Sabi ko sa'yo dati ba? God-given right of any ruling power, government, what have you, to engage in fake news. Okay? So, and they call it propaganda. Diba? It's been called propaganda. And, but basically, it functions as a propaganda tool, no? Because you have to, you have a number of objectives there, which is one is to make the people docile throughout history. I'm talking about throughout history. Bahala na kayo kung i-associate nyo ngayon sa mga nangyayari. But that being said, the problem, however, is there are two things here. No? Is that historically, governments have to, who engage in such types of fake news or propaganda, have to have results. You cannot govern on fake news alone. That's one.
Of course.
Second, if you engage in, if you look at the case of totalitarian countries that have engaged in such types of dissemination of information or misinformation or whatever you call it, the thing is that it has a bureaucratic effect. No? Sometimes the policy-making decisions of the government get affected. No? Kasi nag-engage ka sa ganyan. So, doon naman sa loob, pag nagpa-policy direction kayo, you get influenced by it also. Yun siya sabi, you start believing your propaganda. Yun. And when that happens, wala ka ng direction sa government mo. The best example of that would of course be totalitarian governments like I don't know if you remember Adolf Hitler. Diba time mo yun, diba? Tapos when he was already believing na yung mga statements ng propaganda na nilalabas was actually what was going on. No? So, sinasabi niya, so for example, may mapa siya. Meron doon units ng German military. But these were only like, sinasabi, division, no? Or whatever. Pero, 10 tao lang nandun. Ganon, 10, 20, ganon, or isa lang yung tangke. And he was thinking, these were real organizations. And he started playing around with them. No? So, in effect, he lost his capacity to lead properly because he started, or the entire Nazi apparatus was already neck deep or already sunk in the misinformation process. So that is a danger. Yeah.
All right, very well. Anong tingin ng academe sa fake news?
It doesn't exist. For the simple reason na pagka sinabi mong news talaga, it's supposed to be real, it's supposed to be true.
That's right.
So by virtue of transitivity, pag sinabi mong fake news, pag in-acknowledge mo na merong fake news, parang sinasabi mo na merong fake real. Right? So we have to call fake news for what they are. So these are lies or even disinformation or misinformation. So alam naman natin ibig sabihin ang kaibahan ng disinformation sa misinformation, di ba? Pag disinformation, sinasadya mo talaga as explained by Sir Custodio.
I deny everything.
Yeah. Okay. He denies everything.
Quote me,
So, yeah. Anyway, at any rate, the point here is it doesn't exist. Pero may nakakatawang anecdote tungkol sa fake news. Doon sa mga naabutan yung TV series na not necessarily the news na pinapalabas dati sa Estados.
Tandaan mo na talaga.
Oo nga. Sorry Yeah. Ito, satirical na show ito. So parang ito yung precursor ng The Daily Show, tsaka
Yes,
ng,
yes.
at ng iba pang mga modern day na parang news satire.
1980s.
Parang it was a marketing term to describe the news that they provide. Kasi not necessarily the news, kasi gusto nilang gawing katatawanan, kaya fake news ang tawag nila roon. So that was how fake news was derived. Now, pero on a more serious note, kung tatanggalin natin yung element ng satire, before fake news, ang ginagamit na termino po, zombie facts. So, kasi, yun yung pinauso ng Time Magazine noon eh. Kasi pag sinabi mong zombie facts, parang, these are lies na they are resurrected over and over. Kaya nga zombie nire-resurrect mo eh. Until there is a certain degree of truth to it in terms of public perception. Kung matatandaan po ninyo, may accusation against Iraq that would justify the invasion of the US, yung existence ng weapons of mass destruction. That's an example of a zombie fact. Kasi hindi naman napatunayan sa pagkakaalam ko yung weapons of mass destruction, pero dahil paulit-ulit sinabi, parang si Goebbels, diba? Yung you repeat a lie 1,000 times or more, it becomes the truth. So, ganun, that's what's interesting about fake news. But the bottom line is, it doesn't exist and it's not supposed to exist.
How has technology helped?
Okay, that's a good point. Technology has unfortunately sped up the process of spreading the lies and the misinformation and the disinformation. Kasi nga, masasabi natin na ang social media in particular could be seen as a double-edged sword. So yung mga advocates of truth, pwedeng gamitin yung plataforma para ipakalat yung kanilang noble intentions, but at the same time, there could be certain individuals and groups that would spread the lies and use the platform to confuse people. So therein lies that the problem right now. Kasi by sheer number, kung nanonood kayo ng X-Men, alam niyo yung storya ng mga Sentinel, di ba? Kaya dun sa Days of Future, I'm not talking about the movie Days of Future Past, yung comic book, kung magiging loyal tayo dun sa material ng Days of Future Past, by sheer number of the Sentinels, halos natalo nila. I don't want to spoil the ending, pero halos natalo nila yung buong X-Men by virtue of numbers.
Spoil mo na eh.
Sorry. But nevertheless,
Days of Future.
pero iba, may twist sa ending. Basahin mo pa rin kung di mo nabasa. But the bottom line, I'm sorry Melo for hugging the microphone. The bottom line here is, parang yung Sentinels, parang ito yung mga bots and trolls na o-overwhelm tayo ng numbers. So, hindi ko sinasabi na nananalo yung fake news o yung misinformation and disinformation, but the number is so overwhelming that even the algorithm of Facebook can be gamed to the point na kahit yung accounts nina Inday Barona o nina Ed Lingaw na kilalang mga periodista at hindi naman inaakusahan ng fake news ay kayang ma-deactivate even temporarily by sheer number nakakaya. Tsaka kahit yung mga halimbawa, yung I'm sorry to mention this, pero yung mga anti-Marcos na mga posts nakakayang i-take down at ipa-delete. Why? Because there is an army of paid trolls. Okay? The term here is paid and organized trolls that could really, gain the numbers and the algorithm. So yun yung epekto po ng teknolohiya.
Opo. Pananaw ninyo?
Fake news. I agree with Prof. Dan. Ako hindi ko rin nire-recognize yung term na fake news. It's a misnomer, an oxymoron, because news is either bad or good. So we cannot describe news as fake or real, basta it's news.
Okay.
So what we can describe siguro or tangible na one, yung fake news sites, let us not drop that third word. Yun yung nagpapakalat eh. Yung fake news sites. News sites that are fake. So, mas madaling intindihin yun. Pero yung fake news, labo. I will not accept that term. It should not be included in our dictionary.
Yeah. Without something sexist, sabi kasi ni Pat Santos sa akin, if it is 38D, it is too good to be true. Kaya sabi, diba? Anyway, anong tingin ng CEGP doon sa mga ganun?
Sorry, late na ako pala ako sa tama.
Hindi well, kung sa technology pag-uusapan, marami talaga dyan, ang users talaga ay the youth, millennials talaga. Ngayon, admittedly, marami din talaga yung hindi nagbabasa talaga ng total na article and all. Kaya kumakalat yung mga fake news na yan.
Head lang ang
Siguro malaki ding challenge para sa academe na i-instill yung appreciation sa mga millennials, sa mga youth, no, sa mga estudyante dun sa gawain nating mga media. No? Yun yung medyo isa pa talagang
Social
kailangan
media
natin
education
i-explore.
kailangan.
Okay, very well. We'd like to open the floor to our colleagues from the media who may have questions. Let's start. Questions from the media? Takers? Yes, please. Okay.
Si Juby. Ay,
Sige na.
ano ko si Juby.
You are excused.
And in your JP, actually, we received all the scenarios given by our guests, and we don't hear any solutions for that. Or what particular solutions are available, perhaps? We need legislative actions. What else?
To criminalize fake news.
Everything.
Okay.
For
You know,
example, media protection, the control and, of course, perhaps eliminate this feudal politics.
Okay. Let's hear it from the palace.
Yeah, what particular issue mo?
Hindi, yung mga katulad nun, yung mga feudal na sistema, paano yun? Anong pwedeng gawin? Para maiwasan yun.
Oo. Siguro federalism. Tapos agad. Let's federalize.
Because there are local government units that withdraw their right to control the PLE at one time.
Nag-devolution, devolve.
Okay.
Do we need legislative action for this?
Okay.
Legislative action for removing LGU control over the police. Hindi ko
Anyway.
Sorry, but I have to...
Hindi, yung punto niya.
Yung punto niya, yes.
Yeah, I think the point of our colleague from Bicol is ano ba yung mga solusyon dun sa issues ng impunity, fake news, and all the others. So, of course, okay, let's talk about the last topic first, fake news.
Fake news.
Just for the record, we should all be against Senate Bill 1492 and House Bill number 6022. Ito yung the aim of these bills is would be to criminalize yung fake news.
The spread of fake news.
Or the spread of fake news, as correctly mentioned by Joel. The point here is you do not do that for the simple reason that just like our opposition to the Human Security Act, if you have something that is hard to define like fake news, then everything would be vulnerable to fake news. Mas malala po yung bill ni El Rey Villafuerte na House Bill number 6022 kasi even a mere misquotation could be misconstrued as fake news. Alam naman natin sa media minsan nagkakamali, di ba? Pero ang challenge sa media would be to be more consistent in terms of apologizing and ensuring that such mistakes would not happen again. So yun yung danger ng fake news. Parang nire-regulate mo yung media when in fact the solution is more media education and self-regulation. Now, as regards ending impunity, of course, we should all be one in the struggle to end the culture of impunity, not just with regard to the journalists, the killings, the harassment and the intimidation, but also the other sectors of society. Kaya nga dapat lahat ang panig ito. So, the Presidential Task Force on Media Security is a step in the right direction. But I guess the bigger challenge in the near future, and forgive me for saying
Yeah.
this, Joel, would be to ensure that there will be some degree of independence on the task force vis-a-vis the government, so that there will be no public perception na parang propaganda to lang ito to deodorize the current administration. So we hope that we can push for that as a task force, kasi pwede namang state funded pero may independence pa rin at the same time, so that it can do a better job in terms of monitoring and ensuring that media security will be achieved for
Yeah.
all.
Alright.
Yun na po.
Yes, please.
Good. Well, ayun, gets ko na. Isa fake news, number one. Remember when when we appeared before the Senate, the fake news hearing, our stand was clear. Ang hirap niyan, we have to define. Walang definition talaga ang fake news, no? And we arrived at the conclusion that number one, criminalizing fake news, number one, is untenable. And number two, that it is a very slippery slope. If we get to define fake news and criminalize it, baka lahat tayo dito maging guilty for spreading fake news kasi we cannot control it. We don't have the capability or even the right, no, to tell anybody stop it. Kahit troll nga yan eh. Ang hirap pigilin eh. And we cannot stop people from spreading. Alam na nilang fake news, sinasabing fake news, quote-unquote, sinishare pa. Diba? Sinishare nila eh. So, how can we stop that? So, well, even the President is of the opinion na expression to eh. So, Article 3, Section 4 na naman yan papasok eh. So, what we can do talaga is yung massive social media education.
Okay.
Mga bata, sabihin mo, may nakitang ganito, isinyer, ay hindi mapigil eh. Babawalan ba natin yung mga teenagers na yan or even younger kids, ano, nag-i-internet na sila ngayon. Napakahirap, that's part of their freedom of movement eh. Yun po yun. And when it comes to ano to, yung sa media killings, yes, thanks for the observation, but you know for a fact, Prof. Dan, that we are actually doing that, no?
Okay.
Yung independence, yes, I act independently. I move autonomously. Kumbaga, hindi ko na kailangan utusan ng mga boss. Talagang may nagre-report, for instance, o may ganitong incident. Actually, inimbestigahan ko na kagabi yan. So, ganun. Ang instruction naman sa atin, just do the right thing, do your job. So, yun. And as to we continue to do our proactive measures. We diligently gather data and truthful information from the ground, no? And we share this to various media groups, and they're citing our data now. Kasi ngayon lang talaga nangyari na merong nag-iipon, no? Nagkakal ng data from the ground, may sinampal, may sinakal, halimbawa, may tinreten, meron na tayo eh. And we provide this to our media partners, and they use this in their analysis. But ang call ko nga is we should go beyond these numbers. How we came about producing those numbers ay napakahirap. Napakahirap. So it's not a joke. Yung tipong how many number of deaths, how many number of incidents, yung makuha mo yun, napakahirap nun. It's just they're not just mere numbers. Each number doon may history, napakahirap. I should know because I was the one gathering all the data. So, with that, we can see the entirety of the problem. Yun ang halaga ng data. It's not just you're scratching the surface eh. Impunity, di ba? You're still in danger. Yes, you're just scratching the surface.
Okay.
But we need to go deeper. Kasi andyan na nga yung numbers, we analyze, we study, pag nakita mo, ang problema sa ilalim,
Mas malala.
por Diyos, por Santo, yung tipong, ang trabaho namin sa gobyerno, ako, I'm from the private media, I've always been against the culture of impunity and the violence against media. Nung pumasok ako dito, dambuhalang katotohanan na problema ang nakita ko sa ilalim. Kung ano yung mga contributory factors sa media killings. And we all play a part. From the reporters to the media owners, no, politics, of course, corruption, etc. Yung mere ownership lang ng dyaryo, malaking, or radyo eh.
Eh lalo na
Malaking
kung may-ari
issue.
ng radyo eh,
Yun na.
politiko.
Yun na. Which is basically the case, yung binabaan ko ng mga kaso ng patayan.
Many are put-
Number one fact.
Number one na nadadali.
Sa areas na may namatay. Number one fact.
Usually politics.
Pagbaba ko doon, magkakaaway yung mga media. Number one. Nakakamot ako ulo, magkakaaway pala kayo dito. Number two, kaya walang nasosolve dati. Ayaw nila magsalita. Kilala naman nila kung sino. Diba? Ngayon, talagang nakikiusap ako, banggitin nyo na. Kami na mag-imbestiga. Just give me a name.
Pero yung media ownership kasi, pag may-ari politiko,
Exactly.
para wag matanggal yung empleyado, babanatan yung kalaban.
Exactly. And it happens. May isang kaso na hawak natin. I documented this, ha? We have document to prove, ha? So I'm not spreading fake news here. Documented to. Ay sa kanya, ba't kami na rin? Ang buhay eh. Totoo lang, sir. Masyado akong dumiin kay congressman last election. Inaraw-araw ko talagang banatan, sigop. Tapos in the same, may isang correspondent of a national daily, kilalang daily, no? Sabihin na natin, Philippine Star.
Oh, yun.
Inatake siya ng inatake ng mga radio man. Nagsumbong siya sa akin. Araw-araw, ha? Binabanatan siya. Ng mga taga-radyo sa lugar niya. Dahil, siya perceived to be against yung governor. So, ito yung mga problema. So, anong next action sa atin dito? Number one, yung call nga sa call for media owners to give their workers dignity. Diretso na natin, exploited tayo eh. Exploited
Hindi.
eh.
Sabi naman kasi, media na may sweldo pa.
Aray ko. Diba? So, exploited talaga. Ilan sa atin dito sumisweldo ng tama sa media.
Okay.
Buti nga kung may sweldo.
Yun na nga ang problema.
Isa yun. But also number two, yung ownership issue. Kailangan makuha ko yung listahan from NTC or from KBP, lahat ng radio stations, and find out who are the owners of those radio stations.
Marami kang masasagat sa
Exactly. Dami ko nang truck eh.
Yes, please.
Yeah, good morning po sa lahat. Jubilee Guzman, PWPL. Una-una, congratulations, Usec, tsaka Professor, for telling us na yung fake news hindi dapat mag-exist.
Yeah.
No? Ang nakakalungkot lang po, yung mga kilalang tao sa Pilipinas, sila po yung naniniwalang may fake news. Pangalawa, dapat hindi rin sila nagsasalita ng gano'n. Kasi una-una, kung ano po yung sasabihin nila, yun na rin po yung ginagaya ng lahat, lalo na po ng mga kabataan. Congratulations for that. Ang akin na pong pwedeng masabi, yung pong fake news, di po ba ang magsasabi lang dapat nun yung tao involved dun sa kaso. Halimbawa po, pinagbintangan ako, tapos yung sinasabi ng tao yun, hindi naman totoo. So, ako lang yung pwedeng magsabing fake news dahil ang totoo, sinabi ko. Is that right, Professor?
Well, tama ka, ikaw yung mas mapagpasya
Yes.
sa pagsabi kung ito ba ay peke o hindi. Pero hindi rin natin dapat isa-isang tabi yung iba pang may access dun sa primary source of information.
Okay.
So, halimbawa, kung merong researcher na in-interview ka, pwedeng sabihin ng researcher na yon o ng periodistang yon na fake news din yon batay sa kanyang pagsusuri.
Sa suri niya.
Opo, batay sa suri niya. Pero tama ka, the authenticity or lack thereof would come from
The
you,
person
which
itself.
is who happens to be the primary source of information.
Correct.
Opo.
Ngayon po, sa kaso po ni General Junicio Santiago, just want to say something po about this case. Kasi parang fake news ang nangyari sa kanya. Sang-ayon doon sa mga expert po at mga veteran ng mga reporter. Kasi syempre, I will never consider myself as a veteran kasi until now I'm still studying.
Sige po, sige po.
So, ano po masasabi niyo tungkol dito sa kaso niya? Kasi nagkamali po ng first name, so second name yung tama, Santiago. Ano pong, ito po sa ganitong kaso, ano po ba yung paniniwalaan natin?
Okay.
Please.
Hindi, yung pagkakatanggal niya sa dangerous
Opo.
drug sport, di ba?
Oo.
Anyway, yeah. Actually, hindi lang yon kahit yung sulat, di ba, yung petition ng employees union na dinedeny
Hindi daw totoo.
nung union, tapos kahit nung nagsulat mismo na peke pala.
Opo.
So, I'm not, okay, perhaps the person from Malacanang would be in a better position to comment, pero from a media point of view, from a media studies standpoint, talagang it's a disaster to say the least. In the sense that dapat when you make decisions, it would have to be on the basis of the truth, di ba? At lumalabas, hindi pala.
Hindi pala siya.
Tapos, it's unfortunate, magkaibigan kami ni Harry Roque, but I really have to say this, the spin that he is providing to the media na whatever I give to the media is not necessarily gospel truth, is unacceptable for not just a spokesperson, especially a spokesperson, but that also applies to all government employees. And I think that's what happens when, okay, let's talk about two things. When you have a spokesperson who doesn't have a firm background on journalism, okay, number one, he's media savvy but he doesn't know anything about journalism. Again, I'm sorry to Harry for saying this. Magkaibigan kami pero I have to say this. Pangalawa, when you have officials, high-ranking officials, hindi si Joel ang pinapatungkulan ko. Joel knows what he's talking about. But when you have high-ranking government officials who are supposed to be specializing in communications and social media, but would be perceived as the purveyors of fake news, at siya mismo yung nagsispread na yon batay sa kanyang large following sa kanyang Facebook page, that would be very disastrous again to shaping public opinion, and I think it does a big disservice to the government agency that you're supposed to be serving under.
Attorney Arao o si Congressman, ibang tao na lang. Kung ganito po ang nangyari, no, isang malaking tao na nakapagsalita against somebody, hindi po ba magiging ano sa kanya, parang negative na sa kanya, na sa susunod na kwento siya, hindi na siya paniniwala. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay na.
Tanong pala sa akin yan. Anyway, number one, I cannot speak for spokesman Arao, and I'm not authorized to speak on behalf of Malacanang. Pero ang tingin ko dyan, actually, napag-usapan, nabanggit lang yan. Kasi meron talagang dumating sa Office of the President na complaint. And he based his yung pronouncements niya doon sa mga complaints na yun. Meron talaga dumating. And well, when it comes to fake news, again, na hindi dapat, there are existing laws against the spread of wrong information, false information. There's libel, the anti-cybercrime law, there's PD 90 yata yun, no? And there's the revised penal code, article something. Those punish the spread of wrong information.
Yung kasing rumor mongering decree,
Ay, kasama yun.
wala na yun.
Wala na ba yun?
Na-repeal na. Nung panahon ni Cory Aquino.
Yung PD, ano yan? That's
PD something.
PD 90
Niresearch ko
yata yun.
eh.
PD 90
Lusot
yata.
na.
Lumusot na yun. Pwede lang mag-rumor mongering.
Yun.
Thank you.
Please.
Morning po, I'm Sy-Egco and I'm happy that we have fake news. But I'm quite surprised why we all talk about fake news when we have fake news from the very beginning. You know, Satan lied to us.
Delikado po yan. Baka biglang tumating si Satanas dito, mayari tayo.
Kaya nga po, hindi na dapat tayo, maganda po yan kasi ang mga tao natututong maghanap ng katotohanan. They cannot just believe what they see
Parang may
in
counterpoint.
newspaper, what they hear.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. And I welcome fake news.
Okay. Thank you. Tess?
Tess Ramil of Catholic Media Network. My concern is about the programs for media personnel, as mentioned by Usec. I was just wondering, yung mga programs for media workers and personnel, etc., how are they monitored and in the context of transparency?
In the context of
Transparency.
Well,
Because things are done, let's say, quietly,
yes.
without publication. But then, how does the public realize that your agency is spending is really monitored and properly accounted for?
Ma'am, thank you for asking. And the answer is, we have nothing to monitor. Wala po kaming budget. Wala pa kaming operational budget actually. What we have at present is MOOE lang. As in, kung ano lang kailangan talaga namin. Pero,
Pero saan yung kinukuha yung pera to? Like for instance, sabi niya meron kong humingi ng tulong sa Nueva Ecija or something. Ano yan, dukot bulsa?
PSWD.
Minsan po gano'n, kaibigan ko po kasi yun, no? Pero as to specific funding for those things.
Yes.
Wala po talaga. That's why itong sinasabi ko media, that's medical fund for media workers. Ito po in partnership with the private corporation. I think it's Manny Pangilinan.
So it's the same thing with housing, I presume.
No, the housing naman po, it's ang sabi ni Secretary Danar, there is a 5-hectare lot in Malolos owned by PIA, the Philippine Information Agency, na vacant. So sabi niya, siguro i-convert natin to into a housing project for employees of PCOO, government agencies, no? Yung po ang counterpart ko doon, si PIA Director General Harold Claviten. Tapos I'll just be representing for the media. Kumbaga, kung 5 hectares po yun, hindi po namin alam sa ngayon, talagang empty pa yung drawing board eh. So we're still going to sit down and discuss future plans for that ano. Actually, it's a giant task again for me kasi ay wala pang data, we have to sit down. Ano ba ang mangyayari doon?
Okay.
Because such endeavors are admirable, but then when it comes to government entities
Yes.
pursuing projects and programs, it has to be transparent.
Yes.
and accounted for.
That's right. Number 1 po yun, of course, transparency. And for all of you, many of you who know me ever since, takot po ako sa ganun. Yung
Kaya maakusahan ng corruption.
exactly, yung pag-manage ng pondo, like sa NPC, nag-underspend nga ako nung araw kasi natatakot talaga ako. However, nung naipon, nagamit naman maayos. So we have to be very transparent and prudent in spending government money. So right now, I assure you, ma'am, every centavo that is paid to me or to us, ay talagang doble po yung binabalik nating serbisyo. Talagang inuubos namin yung sweldo para sa serbisyo talaga. Tapos may pinoint si ma'am kanina, ay nakalimutan ko. Yung programs ng media, no? Number 1 po, ang mandate namin, limitado lang for protection ng life, life, liberty, and security of media workers. We do not interfere with the programs of our media partners.
Okay.
Hindi namin pwedeng pakialaman yun kung actually we don't ask, but we coordinate na lang. No, NPC, NUJP, KBP, PAPI, PPI, CMFR, we allow them to do walang
Okay.
walang intervention.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
With the 3 gentlemen, si Custodio at si Callueng at si Prof. 17 years ng ang tapukan, no?
7.
8.
18, 2000, di ba?
2009.
2009.
So ito na po ang tanong, napakahaba na po yung yung tanong. Sabi mo, Boss Joel, inaasang conviction
Yes.
within the year.
No. Not within the year. Patapos na eh.
Next year.
Hopefully within the next 12 months, parang ganun. But not within the year, ha?
Hindi, ay, nga pala, 2 buwan na lang. 2018.
Hopefully.
So, ang tanong ganito eh, sa mga susunod na pangyayari, magkakaroon ng midterm election, ayan na naman yung
Yan.
di ba? Yung mga political lord,
Yes.
ito na naman yung kakalabanin yung ito na naman makukuha ng media. Gumagamit ng media as shield ng mga politiko na naman sa background.
Yan. Yan yung mga
Ano
realities
protection natin dyan?
Yan yung mga realities.
Na yung
Tama yan.
reality na pag dumating yan, hindi naman natin maawat yung mga kapatid natin.
Yes.
News yan eh. May tension, gigitna sila, patay sila.
Hindi muna. Liwanagin natin, may news kaya nagko-cover. Hindi yung nagko-cover dahil may envelope.
Hindi, lagyan na natin ang sama. Hindi naman talaga nakayag yan eh.
Sobre penyo.
Pero ang talagang sa akin yan, kung titignan mo, yun ang kunyari, sabihin natin yung reality, meron, wala, pero may balikan.
Oo.
Pare-pareho tayong dumaan dyan eh. Ang tanong,
Excuse me.
itong midterm na to, kung sakali, yung local governor, yan ang madugo eh, yan ang masyadong mainit.
Okay.
Ano po ang natin inaasahan sa Joel sa mga kapatid natin na profession?
Ganda, good question. Right now, we're drafting the media security protocols. No, nag-meeting na po dyan on November 17. I think you were there.
Yeah, I
no?
was there.
So, Prof. Dan Arao was there and he, in fact, ako pa yung bumabay na tayo. Nawala ako nun eh. Pero the PNP, the NBI, the AFP, through PT Forms, no, mga member agencies natin yan, dinadraft na nila yun. Yung mga what to do when under threat, something like that. And we're going to distribute it to all media workers nationwide. Hopefully, once we get the resources to do so. So, doon na yung hotline, sino yung mga tatawagan sa local, and that will be accompanied by circulars. Halimbawa sa PNP, no, may threat si Pat Santos, for instance, ano ang una mong gagawin? So, yun yung mga protocols na gagawin natin. Wala pa nun eh.
Paano pag hindi nag-perform yung inaasa mag-secure pala, merong inclination na naka-cited sa isang politiko?
Hindi, basta ang mandate natin, whether you are on the side of this or whoever, basta may threat ka, tawagan mo lang kami. Yan naman ang mandate, very clear naman yung mandate na yon.
Okay. Don't you think it's high time for government to really implement a crackdown on private armed groups?
Yeah, yung feudal lords.
No, yun pala, no?
Anti-dynasty.
Siguro nung isang dekada, isang century pa siguro dapat ginawa na yun. No? So yun lang ang sagot ko. No? The thing kasi sa atin, okay, but it's easier said than done, no? The Philippines is, I already mentioned it before in so many freaking times that the Philippines is a country in consolidation. No? Hindi tayo a consolidated nation. No? We are in the midst of something that we would like to call rebellion, insurgency. We call it in any other name but its real name. We're actually in a sort of mini civil war, actually. If you think about it, no? Filipinos are fighting Filipinos, no? And in that really situation that we have here, you're going to have as a constant feature armed groups in this country. So it's easier said than done. Yes, it should have been done maybe a century ago, but but the thing is that because of so many problems in internal security by virtue of the fact of the nature of the Filipino nation itself, which is something very similar to Yugoslavia, no? We always have a conflict situation, and that then breeds the need for protection of political interests, at the same time furtherance of government efforts to undertake internal security operations.
Okay, very well.
Boss Joel, sandali lang pa. Boss Joel, can we do it yung katulad ng UN sa mga conflict areas, mga high-tension area, mga hotspot? Nang media may markings talaga na blue.
Blue helmet.
Walang political color, but blue is for
Blue helmet.
pwedeng, red cross. O
Sa mga conflict situations,
hotspot na hindi natin alam yan, di ba? Papasok sila dyan.
ang kwan
Nasa
natin,
civilian, walang markings.
ang kwan natin dyan, in fact, nung Marawi siege,
Yes, sir.
ang daming kumokontak sa akin, nangihiram ng bulletproof vest, tsaka Kevlar. Sabi ko, kung wala eh. So dahil wala pa tayong resources sa ganun. And it's slowly being addressed, no. Ngayon, yung sa Marawi, paano natin hinandle yan? We just monitored. We invited the AFP. Sabi natin, wala pa tayong protocol dyan. Ano ba ginagawa ninyo? So may sarili silang rules on the ground. Depende sa sitwasyon. So nag-a-adjust sila sa sitwasyon. They cannot just implement this. Iba palang situation, urban warfare pala. Iba naman yung jungle warfare situation.
Kasi
Parang
ito yung normal situation, pero intention, ako.
Okay. Well said. Would you care to respond?
Kasi iba ang nature kasi din naman sa Marawi. That is a very contained area. Kumbaga, no? So in many conflicts or wars, to be exact, no, you have what is called pooling, di ba? May pooling.
Yes, media pool.
Media pooling yan. No? Ginawa din, in a way, ginawa ng AFP yan sa Marawi, no? They were controlling media, to. At madali ko kasi contained area din yan. Pero kahit ginawa nila yun, meron pa rin mga reporters na adventurous, no? That they were going to, let's say, yung mga areas where not considered were havens for the Maote, trying to see more in-depth news because that is the nature of reporter, being very inquisitive, no? Now the thing is that when you deal with political problems, no, in the Philippines, no, like yung mga what do you call it, local politics, that's something that is very, very difficult to monitor kasi doon pumapasok yung minsan yung personal interest ng yung relations ng reporter with whatever ruling family is there or what have you. Gaya ng sinabi kanina na nagbabangayan sila. That is why if we all notice that the largest number of deaths of journalists happen in our country in
Countryside.
provinces, usually linked to political issues. Ganun lang naman yun eh. Ganun lang yun. So, it's very nice that you have this system that they're being but don't count on it to solve because
Okay.
andun pa rin yun.
Okay. Professor.
Ay, sorry.
Sa aking palagay, yung protocols, they've been in place since time immemorial. What I do remember was in 2003, nung pinatay si Edgar de Valerio ng Pagadian, who is an award-winning investigative journalist, doon mas nag-intensify yung safety training. But notice, that was 2003, 6 years later, that did not prevent the Ampatuan massacre from happening. And that is why it's important to look at the full gamut of culture of impunity, not just as affecting journalists and media workers, but the different sectors of society.
Okay.
So that's why the problem is systemic and structural. I'm not saying na hindi mahalaga yung protocols o yung safety training. Malaki po ang maitutulong doon, don't get me wrong. But if warlordism or as mentioned by our colleague from Bicol, feudalism will still inform the countryside or the provinces, then the solution will be, far from being attained.
Okay. Sa ganitong sitwasyon, Jose Marie, narinig mo yung reality sa media. Yung makaramihan ng CEGP, papasok pa sa mainstream, o mag-PPR na lang.
Call center.
O call center.
Yung training naman po talaga namin ay so far as the CEGP's programs are concerned, talagang andun kami sa pag-integrate din dun sa mga campus press. Nilalabas din namin talaga, ina-encourage namin sila to really go to the countryside and experience these kinds of situations so that they will see what are they looking at in the future.
Oh, okay.
Now, I think they're still encouraged, many of us are still encouraged to go to the real world, continue, dun sa paglabas ng campuses ay may ganito pa rin perspective sa amin na magpatuloy sa pagpapayag. Yun lang po. Given this kind of situation, talagang madami yung mga discourage din paunti-unti dahil nga sa lack of providing security, maski pa sa campus press, even in the campus press level. Then how much more in the national level, diba? So, yun din yung actually malaking challenge po sana sa Malacanang, sa Palace, para bigyan din protection yung ating mga future journalists.
Okay, very well. On that note, we'd like to say thank you to everyone who took time out to be with us today.
Okay.
May lakad ka, alas 12, di ba? So,
saya eh.
lalaman hanggang sa susunod.
Bitin.
Ang pag-uusapan natin sa susunod ay yung medical marijuana. No? We'd like to focus
May demo.
on that. Ha?
May demo.
Magbibigay sa media? Magbibigay ka sa media?
Hindi ko alam kung may magdadala, pero we'd like to talk about it.
May practical.
Baka meron gusto sumampol. Sa ating mga naging panauhin, maraming salamat po.
Salamat din po.
Yes.
Have a nice day. God bless us all.
Thank you. Salamat.